Thank you, everyone. I'm Louise Keating, and on behalf of the Coalition for the Support of Business and Jobs, we welcome you to this evening's forum with the candidates for Ohio's 16th Congressional District. We especially wish to thank the Wooster City Schools and the National Honor Society, which relocated its induction ceremony this evening to make this facility available to us in light of the damage that struck Schisler Center out at the OARDC last Thursday. The Coalition is happy to provide yet another opportunity for you to learn more about the candidates' positions on the focus of issues that is the core of our coalition, and that is business, jobs, and the economy that support it. To that end, the questions that the candidates will be facing this evening are limited to those topics, although those are not the only topics that are of importance to a national race. Those are the ones that we will limit questions to this evening. The Coalition prepared some questions in advance, and those were shared with all of the candidates. We will identify which of the questions asked came from the Coalition, but there is the opportunity for any of you to submit questions as well. Cards were available, and as you complete those, please raise your hand. We have runners who will take them to our screeners, and there they will be reviewed for redundancy and clarity. In the interest of maximizing the amount of time that each of the candidates has available to us this evening, we would ask that applause and other vocal recognition of an answer be limited to the initial greeting that you've already given, and then the greeting that will be at the conclusion of the event. We wish to thank the three candidates with us tonight. Mr. Jeffrey Blevins, please. I would ask that we refrain from further applause till the end. Mr. John Bocheri and Mr. Jim Renacci. The positions were drawn for by lot. The positions and speaking order were also drawn for by lot. And the first opening statement will be from Mr. Bocheri.
Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be back here in Wayne County. I was just here a week ago touring Smith Dairy and also touring the devastation that the most recent tornado has left. Our thoughts and prayers are still with those families who are recovering and trying to find a sense in this sort of madness. I'm reminded of the values that Wayne County holds every time I come back here, and this is my most frequently visited county. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting and organizing this together. I want to thank the Wooster Arts and Performing Arts in the school here for hosting us under this short notice. And I want to thank my two candidates here, the two candidates, the challengers for this race, because it takes a lot of guts to stand up here, have your life as an open book, and certainly have our ideas scrutinized and critiqued. Let me just say that when Secretary Vilsack came to start Wayne County here, and he said something that was very profound. He met with farmers and local community folks, and he talked about ORDC and the research and development that's going on there. And he said that ORDC is going to help recreate rural America. And the investments that we're making here are going to help make rural America stronger. And we witness the values that communities like this have for America. If America was doing what Wayne County was doing, we'd be out of this recession a long time ago. You know why? Because folks who go and serve in our military from rural America, they have the values just like farmers do, that you can't keep taking from the soil. You have to give back, as the Secretary has said. We've had bright spots here amongst many challenges in our economy. We look to ABS Materials here, who is working and doing a lot of research here, creating jobs. Tech4, Luke USA, Quasar Energy. These are all bright spots in our economy, and we've got to do more to put our economy back on track. I'm mad things aren't recovering as fast as they should have, but I'll tell you this, Wayne County's future is bright, and America's can be too, if we have the courage to lead.
Thank you. Mr. Blevins.
I'm Jeffrey J. Blevins. I'm the Libertarian candidate for Ohio's 16th U.S. Congressional District. I'm not a politician by trade. By trade, I'm a restaurant manager. And by the grace of God, I'm a husband and a father. As a husband and a father, I have one simple goal in life. And that goal is to obtain a comfortable standard of living for my wife and children. Unfortunately, legislation coming out of Washington, D.C., regardless of whether it's the Democrats or Republicans in power, have made it much more difficult for my wife and I to achieve this dream. I got into this race because I saw that there was a need for better representation for the common individual, the mainstream American, we the people. We the people have begun to realize that our partisan politics, or our two-party system, has divided us with partisan politics. We need to get back to American principles, because American principles will correct the course that our nation is on, and it will unite us again as a nation. That is why I call upon you tonight. You are the stewards of America. As voters, you set the course that our nation will follow. Unfortunately, we've been led to believe that we can only choose from one of two directions. We must not fall for this any longer. We are Americans, and as Americans, we choose our own course. And that is why I want to stand here today and tell you that together, we can turn America back in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blevins. Mr. Renacci.
Thank you. And I too want to thank the Wooster Chamber and the Wooster High School for hosting this event. I want to thank Mr. Boccieri and Mr. Blevins for being here. You know, I'm a businessman of 27 years, not a politician, but there are three reasons why I'm running for Congress. Over the last couple of years, I started to realize that we are not being represented by our congressman. We are being represented by Nancy Pelosi. Our congressman votes 94% of the time with the Nancy Pelosi agenda. He continues over the last 2 years to walk lockstep with Nancy Pelosi. That's the number one reason why I stood up and decided to run. The second reason I'm running, I believe we need to elect people in Washington with the type of experience I have. 27 years of creating jobs, 27 years of employing over 3,000 people, 27 years of starting and again, and living the American dream, starting with nothing, from a rural, blue-collar family, and understanding with hard work anything's possible. That's the second reason. The third reason, and I tell everybody this, I'm running as an American first. Now, I do have Republican values, and the reason I believe in the Republican Party is those values, because I believe we need to get back to a point where we have less government, where we understand personal responsibility is necessary, where we also understand we need to have and prosper through less taxes, we need to have less spending, and ultimately, we need to have a strong military. Those are the three reasons I'm running. I hope I can earn your support. We have 45 days left, and I look forward to earning that over the next 45 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renacci. Now, Mr. Renacci will have the first answer to the first question, which was prepared by the coalition. All questions will be answered within a 2-minute time frame, so keep that in mind in terms of the questions you are preparing as well. The question is, increased health care costs to employers ultimately are passed on to consumers through increased cost of their products. What is your plan to limit increases in health care costs and provide affordable solutions for employers and their employees?
Well, of course, we know that our representative, Mr. Boccieri, voted for the Obama-Pelosi health care plan, which was passed here recently. One of the problems and one of the certainties with that plan, as it was passed, is it is going to drive costs up. I have now spoken with businessman after businessman and business owner over the last year and a half, and especially since that bill was passed. I have seen increases anywhere from 28 to 69%, the most recent increase. We can do better. I stand here today to say that we need to repeal and replace that health care bill. We need to replace it with a bill that takes care of cost. 85% of the problems in healthcare today are cost. We have one of the greatest healthcare systems, but we need to be able to take care of the cost side. How do we do that? Well, look, I've been a businessman and in the healthcare profession for close to 30 years, and I can tell you two things that occur in healthcare. Number one, We practice defensive medicine. In the healthcare business, you have to practice defensive medicine. Why is that? Because we have frivolous lawsuits out there, and we really need a comprehensive plan to address tort reform. That's one way we can bring costs down. The other way we can bring costs down is very simple: competition. Look, I'm a small businessman that has gone out and had to bid out health insurance. We need to reduce the walls right now, and we need to be able to bid health insurance out across state lines, increase competition, and be able to bring those costs down. The only thing certain in the Obama health care plan that Mr. Bocheri passed and approved is that costs are going up. Now, I do stand and say there are some issues in coverage that I agree with. We do have to take care of the safety net, and I will stand here and say that whatever plan we replace it with will take care of the safety net and at the same time reduce costs.
Thank you, Mr. Renacci. Mr. Blevins.
I agree that competition reduces costs while also providing quality goods and services. I therefore think we do need to repeal the healthcare legislation that was recently passed, because that is the best way to increase competition. If we can allow insurance agents and suppliers to bid across state lines, that's going to increase competition, but so would the potential or the possibility of allowing doctors to practice the same practice, to allow them to practice across state lines. That may reduce their cost as well. I think some of the other things that would help with the healthcare cost, though, is to curb a lot of the abuse that's currently going on in the system. If we were to implement a $3 to $5 copay on all Medicaid patients, regardless of HMO, it would curb a lot of the abuse that's costing taxpayers billions of dollars. These are things that we could look at and address, and at the same time reduce the abuse and increase competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blevins. Congressman Bocheri.
Thank you. I had a small business owner come up to me just recently, a woman, and she said, Congressman, I'm very concerned about this health care bill. And I said, well, what are you concerned about? Are you okay with the fact that we're allowing students to stay on their parents' plan until they're 26? She said, yeah, I'm okay with that. Are you okay with the fact that we're ending pre-existing conditions for children like Jay Hawkins, an autistic boy here in this audience who for the first time was able to get health care insurance last week, has his insurance card with him today? She's like, no, I'm okay with that. I said, well, maybe you're not okay with the fact that small businesses are going to get a 35% tax break in 2010 and a 50% tax break in 2014. She's like, well, I'm okay with that. I guess maybe I ought to give it a chance. I think we ought to give it a chance. And let me just say that this position that they have taken about repealing and replacing, they have way more courage than I could ever dream of having. You see, I've flown in and out of combat zones all over the world. And I could tell you that they have more courage because they could go down right there in front of this audience and take Jay's insurance card and say, sorry, Jay, we're standing with the insurance company. We're not standing with you today. And I think that's the tragedy of this healthcare debate that we've had. The folks who are trying to confuse and disorient the public are waging $1 million campaign. Every day they spend $1 million to shake people up and to make them concerned. When the fact of the matter is that folks like Jack Hillier from Wooster here, guy who played by the rules, owned a small business, lost his business, and then had to go shop in the private market for his coverage. Well, he couldn't find care because he was a diabetic. And as a result, he ended up losing his house, losing his car, because everybody knows that we're one accident, one medical emergency, one diagnosis away from complete bankruptcy. These folks want to turn it over to the insurance companies. I want to turn it back over to you. Everybody in this country, by the way, should have access to the same care that these gentlemen would enjoy as members of Congress.
Thank you. Please, if there is applause, you will be asked to leave.
May I make a brief statement?